South Africa, you may be aware of this, you might not be, but Vilakazi Street is the only road in the entire world which actually housed two Nobel Peace Prize winners. That's where they lived for many, many years. Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela both living in Vilakazi Street. Let's head over to where that's where we find our reporter, Lindokuhle Xulu, joining us this morning. And it's in Soweto where we find you on a rainy day. Many will say it's a blessing of African rain on the life of Desmond Tutu, but still very, very sad. I'm sure it's very, very quiet and sad in that part of Soweto where you are, Lindo.
It's very quiet, Gareth, indeed, and the only thing you will hear is just those that are just starting in terms of their morning routines, some of the shops preparing to open, and just immediately next to me you would hear the clicking of some of those bottles. Those are recyclers just basically going about their business, but on a general sense it does feel like there's a somber observation or moment here, as this is the time where the whole country, the whole world is mourning the passing of Ubaba Desmond Tutu, the Archbishop. But I can tell you that what we've seen yesterday in terms of this particular place, the house of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we saw a lot of people coming through to pay tribute, to write messages. And in fact, my colleague Tebogo Masilo will show you now exactly directly in front of the house. This is where people have been coming to lay some of the flowers, some of their messages, but essentially paying homage to someone that has been widely described as a moral compass of the country and as a voice of reason, particularly during apartheid, but more than anything after the freedom was gained by South Africa. So certainly a lot of people would be paying their tributes here. The candles are still burning here, but we're expecting that throughout the week we'll be seeing more and more people essentially coming to pay their respects in some of the key areas that would be associated with the Archbishop. But today it's still quiet. This morning we haven't seen a lot of movement, just one police vehicle as well outside here and just guarding this particular house. But what we saw yesterday was essentially an outpouring of some of those tributes in many areas, including here in Vilakazi Street. And quite interestingly, you say, Gareth, that this is one of the streets that in history has housed two Nobel Prize winners. So it certainly does give you a sense of what significance this place means for many people who have shown up yesterday. And of course, the expectation is that throughout the week they'll be showing up just to pay their respects for the Archbishop.
It's ironic as well that we would find that both of them were not just living on the same street, but of course incredibly influential, both Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu. But the friendship between the two, and just the iconic photos, Lindo, that we have seen circulating on social media and online as well, just shows how close they were, not just geographically living in the same street, but as friends as well.
They were friends, Gareth. That is well known. In fact, even in that particular insert that you had yesterday, just after the passing of the Archbishop, you saw just how close they were, even with the speech that he gave at the former head of state, that's Nelson Mandela's funeral, just giving a speech to say that this is an icon that needs to be followed in terms of the values that he stood for. But today you'd hear many people also speaking and echoing the same sentiments about him. They were friends, but you know, as time progressed, when South Africa had its democracy and the ruling party would then take over the reins in terms of ruling in the country, the Archbishop would be known as a person who remained steadfast in ensuring that his moral compass remains the way it was, even speaking against the ruling party. But that certainly did not take away from their friendship that was well known. And of course, it's a friendship of two icons that today we speak about in passing. But I can tell you that there are similarities in terms of some of the things that would be said about these two icons, just in terms of what they achieved and what they stood for. So certainly the passing of an era here where we see the two giants today, we are speaking about them in passing. But I can tell you that both of them will be celebrated in a similar manner because of the way in which they had conducted themselves during their time while they were alive.
There's always something very special about standing in a place where Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu once called home. Lindokuhle, we're back to you later. I've no doubt you're going to get a lot more people coming out to you as it gets a bit later in the morning and the rain starts to lift a little bit. Back to Lindokuhle Xulu later in the morning. Out at Vilakazi Street, still a bit rainy though, so don't expect too much now, but I'm sure later in the morning lots and lots of South Africans still going to come out and pay tribute.